Testing, 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 testing. Should do it. Okay. Flies up. Okay, morning guys. Just in Ireland, just on the shores of Loch Arrow. We camped at Loch Arrow Touring Park last night, which is just behind me. I've done them 7 days around Ireland into Dublin, and then down to Mizenhead in the most southwesterly point, and then along the Wild Atlantic Way, Healy Pass, up to Dingle Peninsula, Brera Peninsula, and then we're near Sligo now. We're going to go back to Belfast and get the ferry home tonight. 20 bikes in total, so a big group, but everyone's spread out, so it's been lots of little roaming packs of bikes. Big bikes, we've got Multistradas, we've got Africa Twins GS 1250s, but then we've got 350 Classic Enfields, CCM GP 450s, Himalayan, so a little bit of everything, a Bonneville. And for me, with the 450, I just taken delivery of the 450 before I came out. I thought it's a great chance to see how it sits on a longer tour, really, on a day-to-day camping tour where you're doing lots of varied types of riding, a little bit of fast open stuff, tight technical stuff over pre-sleep, for example. So I wanted to bring the 450. If anybody knows my background, they'll know I've had an invested interest in the 411 Himalayan since it came out. I was one of the first people to buy one in the UK, and I think I did sort of 16,000 miles in 5 months in that first year. Did a lot of big trips on it, and I guess I became a real big fan of the 411, the Himalayan, because even though it didn't offer a lot of on-paper excitement, it just seemed to work in a real-world travel environment. You know, when it's not about performance, when it's not necessarily about speed or anything, it's just about comfort, durability, luggage capacity, and just the way it makes you feel when you're on a trip. You know, does it excite you in the morning? Does it feel like, is it a bike you feel like you want to ride? And that 411, it did that for me. So I had a lot of happy miles on it. I did a lot of happy trail riding. So for me, I guess there was always a big expectation or excitement on the 450. And so it's been interesting to see Royal Enfield develop it and see what they've made it into. Obviously there was speculation that it was going to be a 650 twin, and instead they've gone down the liquid cooled single cylinder direction with 40 brake horsepower. Interestingly, I weighed the two bikes, the old one and the new one, before I left, and they were both 197 on the side stand. And I suppose jumping straight in with a criticism of the bike, really, or certainly an observation, it feels a lot heavier than the old one. We did a bit of a test yesterday in the car park. We were all lined up camping. We've got a 1250 GSA, so 270 kilos, a KTM 1290 Adventure, this and an F650. Guess which one feels heaviest off the stand? The Himalayan 450. And so I think from the get-go, the criticism would be that the earlier one, the first Himalayan, was very accessible. You could put anybody on that bike, and I did. I had people come down to my place down in North Devon, and if they were nervous riders, never been off-road, new to biking or returning bikers, you would put them on the 411 because it was so light, manageable, you sat in it. It was just a friendly bike to give somebody to build confidence. Maybe they grow out of it, and maybe eventually after time on the 411 they want something else, but it was a bike that you would put somebody on to give them confidence. And I think it's a shame that that element of functionality and usability that was so strong on the 411 has not translated into the 450. It carries a weight a lot higher. The side stand is a little shorter, so it seems to lean a lot. It's very stable on its side stand. I think they've done a great job of making it a stable side stand, which was a criticism of the 411. It would either blow over that way or that way. So in a way, it's an improvement. But with the increased carrying mass of the bike up here and the increased angle of the stand, I think unfortunately it's going to alienate the people who always found the 411 so accessible and user-friendly. I mean, my colleague who's been helping me guide, Dave, he's 5'6" or so, he's 63 years of age, and he really struggles to get this off the side stand. He's bought one of these. He rode a lot of miles on the 411, he's bought one of these, but he finds it heavier than his Targa 900 off the stand, and that's, you know, we're going to discuss other elements of the bike, but fundamentally that's the first thing you notice about the bike. It's heavy off the stand. I mean, brilliantly, they've made it so as soon as it's moving, or actually when you're even pushing it, I pushed it out the campsite now to keep quiet. It's easy once it's going. It's easy when that mass is upright, but it's just getting it upright. And you've just got to be careful. If you're parking off camber, then it is incredibly heavy to lift off side stand, and I think it's going to put people off. But anyway, let's move on to the engine. Engine is now 40 brake horsepower, a little bit down on torque. I forget the spec. it's got 86 miles per gallon on this trip, very good. Power is good. I'm trying to compare it. Is it as strong as a KTM 390 Adventure? No, it's not got that top end rush of the KTM 390 Adventure. Has it got the bottom end punch of a Triumph 400X, the new one? No, it's the power on this seems to lie somewhere in between. It's got great mid-range, it'll roll along, it'll pick up from 30 miles an hour in 6 and pick up strong and go. And it's got some chug, it has got elements of that low down 411 chug of the old one. And it's got some excitement at the top end, but it mainly likes to be in that mid zone. I saw sort of 85 miles per hour on it. I find though that a cruising speed 65 is still where it's happiest, 60, 65. So in actual cruising terms, it's not really any faster than the 411. It just gets there quicker, and it will accelerate quicker, and it will overtake better. You can get past more cars, and it's got more punch, it's got more excitement in the engine department. Has it got that long stroke character that made the old one so easy to ride in muddy, sloppy conditions? It has lost elements of that, and part of that is down to the ride-by-wire throttle. You just lose that immediate connectivity that you used to have with the throttle to the long stroke motor. You know, in deep mud you could almost feel every beat of the engine through the throttle, so you could really fine tune the throttle to gain grip as you went. And I love that about the 411. It would mean you could do far choppier, sloshier, muddier terrain than you thought you could. This has unfortunately got that slight desensitization that comes with the ride-by-wire throttle. You know, you haven't got that quite that same feel. And it's the same on the Triumph, and it's a bit the same on the KTM, so it's not out of sync with other bikes in this class. It's a shame to lose that cable, because what they've given in its place is 2 riding modes, which are completely redundant in a sense. The performance one is quite sharp, and that's what I leave it in, but it's got that bite on the throttle, that bite. But you put it in eco mode, and it's like somebody's took you to 10,000 feet, and you've suddenly got that bluntness of power, which makes it, well, I don't see the point. I think it's a shame with ride-by-wire throttle that these companies aren't putting in cruise control. You know, that is part and parcel of putting in ride-by-wire throttle. It makes it easier. So to me, rather than riding modes, it would have been nice to have cruise control, because when you're on a long stretch, it makes life a lot easier. So overall, the engine, I don't think it's a spectacular engine. It's a decent engine. It propels the bike well. It feels like it wants to rev, and it does rev quite easily, actually, quite willingly to 8.5, 9,000. Does it ever excite you as an engine in the way the KTM 390 does? No, not really, no. Does it hit you hard down low like the Triumph engine? No, not really, but it does sit nicely in that mid section, which means it is quite a nice touring engine. It's just a shame it doesn't want to cruise a bit higher. You know, it's a shame it doesn't want to cruise at 75, but it feels like it's quite angry and a bit buzzy at that. It's not helped by the screen. You sit on the bike on this rather than in the bike that you did on the 411, and the screen is really low, so actually it feels like you're on a naked bike, which meant it pushed my speed down a bit. It means that actually I wouldn't want to sit on a motorway at 75 miles an hour all day long, and I've done 600-mile days on the 411, and I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to do it on this, which is again a bit of a shame, if I'm honest. And we've got a rider reg on the 411 on this trip, and we did have a swap, and actually the old 411 is smoother at 60 miles an hour than this is. It's more refined, the engine's in a more rhythmical flow. It's more relaxing at 60, the old one, than this. So whenever we talk about improvements, performance, it comes hand in hand with a negative, unfortunately, that it's buzzy, it's working harder, it's more agitated, and so I miss that relaxation that you used to get with the old one. Also, the 5-speed box is now a 6-speed box, and a 6-speed box has almost been slotted into the same, I guess, gearing pattern. Maybe, you know, the revs at 60 on this are the same as on the old one. The revs at 70 seem to be the same as the old one, which means you've just got an extra gear in the space of where 5 was. You've now got 6, which means you've got more gear changes. So it's a bit like the KTM 390. In town, you're up and down, you're up and down, you're up and down, you're fidgeting through the box. And again, is that an improvement? Well, I used to like the waft, the longer gearing of the 411, because you didn't have to do as much gear changing. So again, it's agitated the bike. It's made the rider give more input into the bike, which on a long trip is not always what you want. Handling, I think, is where, you know, it's fantastic. It handles so well. It's so sharp. It's like best in class, I'd say, for handling. You get the speed it'll carry through corners is incredible. Its ability to absorb bumps and give you control at the same time is incredible. It really is. Whoever is responsible for the chassis has done an amazing job. It is an incredible bike to ride fast. It's quite firmer suspension than the old one. It's got better ground clearance. You don't scrape the pegs as you do on the old one. But it never says to you anything other than let's go faster. It's always wanting to go fast. Whenever I see a corner on this, that's it. I attack it. Bang, bang, rum, rum, rum. And I'm going faster, faster. I'm riding everything hard. And because you're sat up on the bike, you feel a bit more in an aggressive position. Which again, is it what I want for touring, for traveling? And so I got off the old one. Well, I sat on the old one when I was riding it, thinking, oh, I'm relaxed now. I don't feel like the urgency to go. I was still making pace, and in fairness, Reg on the 411 was keeping up with this pretty much, you know, apart from those where I was really winding this out. But on the overtakes up to 65 and that, he was on my tail. So is it an out-and-out difference in performance? It feels it, but it's not it in the real world. You will get past more cars, and you'll get up to 80 miles an hour faster, but is it got enough power to appease those who never felt there was enough power in the original? I'm not sure, because it still feels a strained power, not a natural power. So if you wanted to go touring on it and sit on the motorway, it's still probably not got enough. A 650 twin would be a better bike, and it'd be the same weight. So as I come around in circles and the drain starts to empty, I come to the conclusion that I'm not sure they built a better bike. And in fact, I don't think they have, because I think there's been that much impetus on making it faster and more aggressive and make it wheelie and jump and stoppies and all that sort of show riding. I think they forgot what the heart of the Himalayan was, and that was usability, friendliness, forgivingness, gentleness, and just a companion in your travels. They've tried to make a race bike out of it, and I don't think it's a good direction, if I'm honest. And it seems to be a direction the industry's going. Same with that V-Strom 800 DE. Great bike, but fucking it just wanted you to race it all the time. And I watched the Missenden Flies review of the 1300 GS. It sounds like they've done that with the engine in that as well. The designers seem to think everyone wants to go flat out, that everyone's a 30-year-old race rider, a racetrack rider. Whereas most people buying these bikes are 63-year-old, 5'8" people who just want a manageable, relaxing experience. And I think the designers, the engineers of all bikes seem to be losing who their customer is, who they're building the bike for. So this bike to no longer be liftable for the average person, well, that's a step back. That's a huge step back. It's no longer accessible. I no longer put a novice, nervous rider on this. I put them on the old one. So where's the progress? Where is the progress? Unfortunately, it's not. It's faster. It's more exciting. It's more engaging. But on a tour, on a trip, when you park outside a cake shop and you want to get back on the bike at 3 o'clock with your luggage on, it's not a better bike. It's harder. It's harder to get it off the stand. It's more nerve-wracking, more tiring. It's a step back. It's a step back, this bike. And it's unfortunate because I really want to like it. And I love it. When I'm fast on it, I think fucking, they've designed a spectacularly fast cornering bike. Brilliant chassis, better brakes. But the brakes are too bitey on the trails. If you've never ridden a Himalayan 411, I think you'll love this bike. But if you love the 411, I don't think this is progress. This is not what we wanted. We just wanted a 411 with a bit more power. And this is not it. What will be, I don't know. CF Moto 450, I've got my eye on that. Because that will give the long-legged refinement to tour on. Maybe without the buzz and the vibes and the aggressive riding stance of this bike. I think they've got the wrong people designing it. You know, I'm going to speak out of turn. They're employing the wrong people to design the bikes because they aren't the people who are riding the bikes, who are buying the bikes. There's a mismatch, the disparity. They need to come to a campsite and ask the 60-year-old rider of the Himalayan what they wanted in a bike, because this is not it. So sorry, good bike, great bike for the right rider, but for fans of the old one, Mr. Mark.